the Armenian king has assembled a massive army to defend his city against the might of Imperial Rome. Though outnumbered, the Romans are seasoned professionals when it comes to fighting Eastern armies. Today, the fate of these two armies lies with a group of musicians from Durham.
Let's have the infantry protect the archers.
It's not going well. Loads of our men are running away.
Here, they will refight this landmark battle using state-of-the-art technology against the greatest generals of the ancient world. This is Time Commands. With Eddie Mayer inside a 21st century military command center and taking control of the battlefield are a group of musicians from Durham. Billy Nicholson, 36, music lecturer, rank general. Emma Fisk, 30, music lecturer, rank lieutenant. Mark Broadbent, 17, music student, rank lieutenant. Leanne Turton, 18, music student, rank general.
So you are all musical. You've got musical ability and talent, is that right?
We're all musical. I don't know whether we all have talent.
Well, obviously, what we really want to do is find out whether you can fight battles and understand strategy and work together as a team and learn from all the information you get. But there's time to come on to all of that. I want to know a little more about you first. I know that Emma and Billy, you work together. You're also a couple. And Emma, you're a... And don't take offence at this, I think you might be pleased. You're a rock chick, aren't you?
I have been in my time.
Ex-rock chick?
Ex-rock chick, yes.
At the age of 16, you did what?
I was persuaded to join a rock band by some dodgy characters with a white transit van and spent about 7 years touring in Britain and Europe and recording. We recorded three albums.
What kind of music are we talking about?
Melancholy rock.
Well, you would be after 7 years in a transit van.
Yes.
Do you think you're a good strategist?
Well, we'll find out by the end of today, won't we?
Well, we will, and hopefully you won't be lying in a pool of blood by the end of it.
Well, maybe after the show. If we lose, I will.
We've got two of your students here, but Mark and Leanne, you know what these two are like as lecturers. Have they been good? Have you learned a lot from them?
Yes.
Yes.
And although you've obviously got musical talent, I know, Leanne, you want to be an actress.
I do, yes.
Recently, you played a part of a bisexual arch-villainess in a comedy musical who set out to reshape the world in her image with mind-altering drugs concealed in exotic love beauty products.
I did.
I missed that. How did that go?
It was just... I enjoyed playing the role. It was...
Different.
Different, yes, very different. I've never done anything like that before.
I'm glad to hear it.
It was good.
Now I want to introduce you to two of my closest and dearest friends, our historical experts, Eric and Sol. Say hello to them.
Hello.
Up there in the gods, and they're going to be watching everything you do.
Dr. Eric Nussbacher, Senior Lecturer in War Studies, Royal Military Academy, Sandhurst. Dr. Saul David, military historian and author.
Who is going to be taking charge of this battle? Who are the generals and who are the lieutenants?
I'm a general.
And I'm a general.
And that was decided how?
We had a short discussion about it and came to a decision very, very quickly.
I was there for most of that discussion. It lasted about an hour. And at one stage, everyone was a general and everyone was a lieutenant. Are you sure you've made the right choice?
Can we change our decision?
No, you can't.
Okay,
I don't want any recriminations when it all goes wrong. What do you think the most important weapon at your disposal might be in the battle that lies ahead?
Do we have nuclear weapons or anything like that? Or?
No, Series 4. These clipboards in front of you, distribute those between you. This is the information gathering part. And here you'll find out lots of important things which will be very useful when it comes to the heat of the battle. So the more notes you take and the more sense you make of it, the better the chance you have of winning. You're going to be in charge of King Tigran in the battle of Tigranocerta. Have a look at this.
The year is 69 BC. The place is Tigranocerta, the golden city of the ancient empire of Armenia. On one side, the forces of the Roman Republic under the Roman general Lucullus. On the other side, Tigran, king of Armenia, one of the most powerful rulers of the Near East. For 5 years, Rome had been at war with the kingdom of Pontus in today's central Turkey. After a series of crushing defeats at the hands of the Roman legions, the Pontic king Mithridates fled to his ally and son-in-law, Tigran. Tigran had transformed Armenia into one of the most powerful empires in the East. As a testament to his own success, Tigran built a royal city, Tigranocerta, on the borders of Armenia and Mesopotamia, near modern Sirte in Turkey. It was here that the king of Pontus, Mithridates, took refuge from the Romans. But in 69 BC, the Roman general Lucullus ordered Tigran to surrender Mithridates to him. When Tigran refused, Lucullus crossed the Euphrates and invaded Armenia in an effort to force Tigran to hand over his father-in-law Mithridates to the Romans. Instead, Tigran assembled a massive army to fight the Romans. The Armenian army was huge, but the quality poor. Many of the soldiers were forced into service and lacked the determination and discipline of the Roman legionaries. Compared to the Romans, many of Tigran's men were also very poorly equipped. But Tigran did have one crack unit, the cataphracts. These heavily armored horses and men were his army's greatest strength. And he also had 10,000 archers, which gave him an advantage over the Romans. Tigran was confident of victory and keen to defend his capital city. To fight the Armenians, Lucullus had mustered 12,000 soldiers. Rome's army was the most feared fighting force in the world. Its legions were divided into cohorts of professional and practiced soldiers. They had already routed the army of Pontus and were confident of smashing the very similar forces of Tigran. The battleground at Tigranocerta is an open plain outside the city walls. A fordable river separates the two armies. It is the eve of battle. If Lucullus wins, he will break the Armenian Empire and extend Rome's influence eastward. He will also gain immense personal prestige and wealth. King Tigran of Armenia is 70 years old and politically shrewd, but lacks skill as a military leader. If he wins, he'll cement his reputation as the King of Kings and protect his empire from expansionist Rome. The stakes are high. Battle is imminent.
All right, that's your first look at what's at stake. What are your thoughts?
We're going to get our heads kicked in.
Yeah.
Enough of this blind optimism.
I don't understand why they're so pessimistic. They're out there in the field with a huge army, with the very intimidating cataphracts. They've got lots of archers. They should be going at this with some gusto.
What did you learn there?
We have one main unit and archers. We've got a river between us.
The Romans are professional soldiers and we aren't.
I think the problem here is that they're basically intimidated by the reputation of the Roman army, and in some senses, they've got good reason to be.
The team must pay close attention because the battle they are going to fight will be won or lost on the information they are about to receive.
Would you like to know more about where the battle's going to take place?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Let's have a look.
The terrain. The desert battlefield is a plain with a deep river running through it. On one side stands the Armenian army ready to protect their city, Tigranocerta. Across the river, hidden in a dry, shallow valley, the invading Romans. There is only one point in the river where each army can cross. The hill by the river offers a good vantage point to defend access to the city. Also, there is a high plateau away from the river which could be tactically useful. But will our team spot these key features?
Take the hills away, it's like the East End of London, isn't it?
We've got two hills there, and we've got this hill. So where?
We'll be on that side.
Yeah.
One of the key features of this piece of ground is a plateau. It's broad, it's high, and it gives the Armenians the potential to put their army somewhere that gives their horse the advantage of being able to charge downhill, gives them visibility of the Romans as they approach, and it'd be a nice place to fight if the team can see it.
But will the team see the advantage of this possible battleground?
So there's an army just here, between that landmass there and that landmass there.
The team have only identified the hill, but missed the river crossing and the plateau. Unless they can understand the lie of the land, their whole campaign could be jeopardized.
Have a look at the big screen here and use my friend Adam, who throughout this will be able to guide you around the battlefield. Come back and Adam will help you swoop over the entire area, get an overview, and get a sense for where this battle is going to be fought.
Okay.
Where is it?
And that's that landmass there, isn't it?
So is it? That's.
I think that's that landmass over there.
This is the point where our two lieutenants can go down to the front, talk to our two technicians, and get a detailed look at exactly what you have to hand. So go down and do that. One each. Each technician controls a different part of your army. You need to work out which bit's which. Again, that'll prove critical when it comes to fighting the battle.
In their first task as lieutenants, Emma and Mark must gather intelligence about their own troops. They face a professional, well-trained Roman army. To have a chance of victory, the team must find out everything they can about the strengths and weaknesses of their own forces. Will they realize the importance of their heavy cavalry, the cataphracts? And will they understand the sheer size of the army they have at their disposal?
The ones in the rows at the front are slingers.
Right.
Slingers.
The Armenian army has 10,000 slingers. As ammunition, they have sharp stones which they hurl at the enemy using leather slings.
Then just behind them to the left, there's the general with elite guards.
The Armenian general, King Tigran, has come to this battle with a huge army confident of a glorious victory.
And then the two rows behind them are archers.
A phenomenal 10,000 archers. Firepower the Romans have seldom faced before.
And then them 4 blocks behind are all infantry. And then there's 3 blocks of spearmen.
The 20,000 spearmen could be effective in this battle if deployed as backup troops for the more vulnerable archers.
To be honest, you wish you'd been a general.
No, I'm quite happy.
King Tigran, or Tigranes in Greek, has got a vast army, but it's like a soap bubble. It's big, but it relies on its structure to stay together. There's nothing inside it. It's got no guts. Tigranes has got an army that's huge because all of the other kings have sent him contributions, but they've been making up numbers. It's like a big production of a musical where they bring in school kids, hand in a spear, and tell them to stand on stage.
The block at the back, they are infantry, and then the big block in front of them are infantry as well. So infantry, archers,
Infantry.
infantry, 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 infantry.
And then
All those
front
big blocks are infantry.
are infantry.
Tigran is king of kings of the Armenians. And king of kings for him means that he has got the king of the Adiabenians with him. He's got the king of the Medes with him. He's got Gordianians. He's got Albanians. He's got Arabs. He's got steppe nomads. It's like a scene out of Conan the Barbarian. Tigran has not got a tight army. He's got a big, loose army. And it can fall apart at any moment.
With this huge variety of troops, will the team be able to marshal them effectively?
And is that the enemy?
No, this is us as well.
Further along the river, away from the city, are the Armenian secret weapon, the cataphracts.
All of them are cataphracts except the small group, which is scouts, which are just at the front.
This formidable troop are on horseback, heavily armoured in chain mail, with long spears. Having discovered them, will the team realise how useful they could be when planning their strategy?
One of the great strengths of the Armenian army are these heavy cataphract cavalry, just the thing that might be able to disrupt the Roman order and discipline.
Having gathered all the information from the technicians, the team still seem to be oblivious to the sheer size of this Armenian army.
And how many slingers were there?
2 blocks of 125 slingers.
2 blocks.
Feel free to use these props. Look. There we are. Yes, put them back where they were. Good. All right. Come round here then.
We've got to your left.
Let me know if you are happy with
We've got to your left.
how all that looks.
Oh, we're still...
We've still got 2 left.
These we're not sure about, but maybe we can put them somewhere soon. But by and large, you think this is how it looks out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perhaps a more detailed look at some of their troops will help the team realise what they have to fight with.
I'm going to give you a little extra help now. Do you feel you need it?
I think that we could do something.
I'm going to give you information about some key troops. This will be packed with facts, which again will help you in the battle, so do take careful note. First, here are the cataphracts.
Cataphracts. Heavily armoured horses, formidable force when charging in close formation. Vulnerable at the flanks, armed with long spears.
Heavily armoured.
So they won't be able to turn around quickly. They're not going to be very mobile. They're like tanks with legs.
These heavily armored cataphracts and their great big lances are tremendously powerful out in the wide open spaces. They're slow moving, but they have the capability of delivering a shock charge. They can run into you and frighten you away and smash your formations if you're not careful. And the Roman cavalry are comparatively crap. And as a result, the Romans are going to have to keep a good, careful eye on these cataphracts.
Okay, let's have a look now at your archers. See what you can make of them.
Archers can disrupt enemy on the move, poor in close combat, firing range of only 100 meters.
The Romans aren't used to archers, that's quite important,
that's an advantage, isn't it?
So we should maybe try and surprise them with the archers.
How would you surprise them, do you think?
Hide behind something.
Yeah, hide them.
And place them somewhere out of the way so that they're safe until...
And 100-metre range as well on the bows. We need to get some idea of
distance.
distance.
Interesting comment just made by the team. They recognise that the archers are a key element, which is fine. I mean, they've been given the information, but I think, interestingly enough, they've suggested that they actually hide them and use them in some kind of surprise way. Now, the problem they've got with their archers is that their actual range is really quite small. I mean, they can only fire for 100 metres. They can't really be used over long distances. And the key with archers is to prevent the enemy closing to them too quickly. And that's the problem they've got. If they hide them away too far, they may not be able to influence the battle at all.
That's right, and the allied horse that the Romans have with them could attack the archers if the archers are not in a mutually supporting relationship with some heavy foot or perhaps some of the Armenian cavalry.
One more clue for you. Have a look at your peasants.
Armenian peasants, effective in large numbers, untrained, may panic.
Like peasants the world over, there are a lot of them. And of course, they've always got javelins. It's no matter how poverty-stricken you are, always got a javelin.
Each part of the army that the team has available has its own strengths and weaknesses. And they've got to be able to keep their army close enough to allow the strengths of one kind of troops to compensate for the weaknesses of the other troops.
Now, how much more help would you need? Giving as much as I can here. You keep drawing diagrams, which is great.
I know.
If only you had a giant map to work from, you wouldn't have to do all of this. I was wondering whether maybe you didn't want to have a good look at the enemy first.
Yes.
Would that be handy?
Yeah.
All right. 3 of you stay up here, 1 of the lieutenants. In fact, maybe Mark, you want to go down and talk to your technician?
The final phase of the intelligence gathering is a detailed scout of the enemy army. The team only have one chance to use their scouts to spy on the enemy they are about to face. It is the last opportunity for the team to recognize the disparity in numbers between their huge Armenian army and the Romans. Anything that the scouts miss here could lead to huge repercussions in the battle they're about to fight.
There's a wonderful moment when Tigran actually sees the Roman army for the first time, and this sort of stresses the overconfidence of the Armenians generally, but particularly in this particular situation when they have roughly 10-to-1 advantage over the Romans. He spots the small size of the army and he utters the immortal lines recorded by Plutarch. If an embassy, too many. If an army, too few. And these particular Roman troops who fight the Battle of Tigranocerta have actually been fighting for 5 years in a previous campaign. They are hardened veterans. But not only that, they are grouped together in this very flexible formation of cohorts. In the old days, the legions used to be divided into 30 maniples. Now it's 10 cohorts, and the overall commander only needs to give orders to the 10 commanders under him for his army to be able to move.
In the shallow valley across the river from the Armenian army, the Romans have lined up with 10,000 well-armed and tightly disciplined legionary reserves. 1,000 barbarian cavalry, 500 archers, and 500 slingers. With only a few minutes before they deploy their troops, Billy is still struggling to find the river crossing that so far has eluded him.
Can we have a look at the river to see where the crossing point is, please?
Could that be it? Where is that on your map?
Yeah.
It's over here.
Okay. Okay. What about these? Is this going anywhere, or are they
Do we put those on the end?
randomly? I'll do it then. Here we go. Oh, we're laughing.
Amazingly, having surveyed the enemy, still nobody in the team has noticed that their Armenian army seriously outnumber the Romans 10-to-1. They're missing vital information. How will it affect their battle plan?
Okay, you've gathered all the information you're going to get. What are you going to do with that? Billy?
Well, we're just trying to work out where they're going to be attacking us from. And we've discussed it, and we think that we've only got a few really good troops. So we want to utilize them as effectively as possible. But it's how to do that.
What's the best way, do you think, Mark?
I think maybe, because our scout came in from here, so I think that's maybe where the enemy would cross. And if we send, I've just thought maybe if we send the cavalry in, as we were going to, because they're our best units, but in case they get flanked, because that's the weakness, if we put peasants on either side of them.
Mark has grasped the requirement for combining the horse with the foot to create a resilient combined arms unit or formation out there on the field.
I think we can assume that the Romans are going to have to come across that way, so we know which way they're going to come in.
Can I just ask, you're assuming they're going to come across to you. Do you want to go and engage them? You could cross the ford if you wanted to. Why wouldn't you do that?
They've got armor on, and it will slow them down when they're going through the water.
If we let them
I think
come
it's
towards them,
safer to let them come to
fire
us.
at them.
Yeah.
So let them go through the water, and as they go through the water, fire. So we'll use our archers at that point.
Fire and water.
The question is, have they got time? Have they got enough time to get to that crossing before the Romans do? And if they get caught halfway out in the plain, they're in trouble.
If this was high land, then we could put people at either side, couldn't we?
Use your stick too to maybe move the enemy.
They're going to be coming through the ford, presumably.
Let's move the king back and out of the way and keep him safe.
But does he not need to rally his troops? They're panicky peasants.
So
They
if we-
need to see a show of confidence.
So if he goes to the back.
A key issue for Tigran, the king of the Armenians in this battle, is that he doesn't like to get bad news. The first person who comes to Tigran and says, the Romans are coming, Tigran hasn't killed.
So once the enemy starts to attack, what are you going to do?
We're going to use our archers and our slingers to attack them as they're crossing through the water.
And if you fail to stop them?
We will support it with infantry to engage them as they come through, and then we will use
the cataphracts.
The cataphracts.
What worries me is that they seem to have all the right ideas, but they haven't formulated a plan that, from my opinion, has any hope of success at the moment, because it's far too strung out. They need to concentrate their forces more.
Is that a crossing point? Can they get across there?
If it's a crossing point, you can cross it. You know him better than me. Is he making this up? I'm just getting that impression.
That's generally the way.
And one question that they have not asked is, what happens if the Romans get across in good order before they take up those positions? They're assuming they will be able to move and take up those positions.
If you look at the map as they had it laid out in terms of where the troops were actually positioned, they should have realized that the Romans were closer to the ford than they were.
The team haven't realized how far their troops are from the crossing. Can they achieve this ambitious plan and move this 100,000-strong army in time to meet the fast, efficient Romans?
I think I've given you enough time to come up with your battle plan, and I'm confident you know what's going to happen.
Somebody is, at least.
Leanne, you know you're going to have to start barking orders very soon.
I will, yes.
Good luck. It's time to deploy your troops.
The team identify their key troops, the cataphracts. It's only the pronunciation they're struggling with now.
Who's in charge of the cataracts?
We've got half each.
Can you move them back to the far side of the hill?
Instead of using these powerful cataphracts in an early offensive, the team deploy them behind the hill, out of view of the Romans. Will this defensive action by our generals prove a costly mistake?
The Armenians could buy themselves enough time to deploy if they were willing to use their cataphracts aggressively. But look, they are getting their cataphracts out of the way. There's nobody to screen the ford.
However, the efficient Roman machine has already slid into action, moving towards the ford. The Roman general Lucullus knows that seizing the initiative by positioning his troops on the flat is going to be critical if he wants to defeat an army 10 times in size.
The Romans are skilled and drilled at rapid movement across country, even though Roman heavy foot are comparatively slow moving compared with lighter forces. They are capable of moving very briskly across ground without disrupting their formations.
We also know on the other side of the coin that the Armenian army are a confederated army with lots of different commanders, and therefore command and control is going to be very difficult. It will be hard to move any large numbers of their troops in a body as quickly as the Romans can.
And if you could bring the archers and place those on the hills, please.
The team generals start to deploy their second key troops, the Armenian archers. But with the enemy on the move, have they made their first error by only sending one small unit of troops to face these organized Romans? And still the Romans advance ever nearer the ford.
Do we want the archers to run and get exhausted?
What state are they in at the moment?
They're marching eager and fresh at the moment, but there's still quite a long way to go.
Could they run?
Is that a good idea?
No, because it might tire them out by the time they get there. Let them walk.
They need to get a move on if they hope to stick to their plan to take the high ground. The Romans are fast approaching the crossing, and the Armenian archers are still walking.
What we have going on out here is a race. The team is going to try to contest the crossing, and that means they have to get within at least shooting distance of the crossing. The Romans want to walk across. I should see a crowd of Armenians heading for that ford, light forces and cavalry to screen the ford. The cataphracts were close enough to screen the ford. But what do I see instead? I see the Romans in 3 lines ready to walk across the river, and nobody on the Armenian side of the river ready to stop them.
They're all moving forwards towards the crossing.
Do we need the archers to run?
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Make the archers run.
At last, the team realize the urgency of their position and send their archers running towards the hill. But without backup, what did the team hope to achieve with this one small unit? And meanwhile, the Romans are ready to cross at the ford.
We may need to engage them before they get across. We're miles away.
What worries me is that Billy's just said we need to engage them before they get across. It sounds like they're trying to stick to the plan, and I don't think the plan is any longer workable.
There's a tremendous temptation to fixate on process, to fixate on the plan rather than on the mission. And the team has to get past that plan, that unrealistic plan that they developed at the bird table, and they have to look at the situation, assess it, and they've got to change their concept of operations, and they've got to change it now.
Well, just bring everyone forward, please.
Sorry. Have we moved the infantry? Or...
No, we haven't.
No. They need to move towards the ford as well.
We've brought all of the units that I was in command over moving forward.
At long last, the team realize they need to mobilize all their troops. But is this now too late?
They're being far too ambitious in terms of the way in which they can move their troops over ground. And what I'm worried about is the army's going to be strung out and taken in detail.
The Romans are mobilizing to cross the river. The first troop will be the 1,000-strong barbarian cavalry.
They're sending cavalry in.
Attack them
Where
with
are you then?
archers?
Archers.
Yeah, archers.
The archers reach the hill just in time. But are they exhausted from their frantic dash across the desert? The unstoppable Romans send their cavalry across the river.
We're in range to shoot with the archers now.
And what about infantry? Do we have infantry to support them?
Infantry are coming up behind now.
We just need infantry there.
They're running in.
Hopefully we'll draw them along the plain, and as they go along the plain, we will fire down at the peasants.
We're asking ourselves over and over again, why are they sticking with this obsolete plan? Why do they still think that they can get their forces in position to oppose the Roman crossing when the Roman crossing has already begun? I'll tell you why. Nobody on the team is looking at the big picture.
Apparently unaware that the Armenians outweigh them 10-1, the Romans send their cavalry onto the exposed plain. The first engagement of the battle is about to begin. This error by the Roman command gives the archers their first taste of blood.
Well, that seems to have been successful. They've scarpered.
Without any support from Roman troops, the cavalry retreat out of range of the Armenian archers. But the Roman commander, General Lucullus, is not intimidated by this small number of enemy troops and continues with his objective to ford the river. He sends his light infantry across.
Romans are not at all fazed by this crossing. The Romans are just doing another day's work. This is an almost professional couple of Roman legions coming up here. And the Romans are just doing what they do every day.
The Romans might find this crossing easy, but the Armenian archers have the high ground and could take the advantage.
Archers, fire on that group, please.
Can we get the archers to fire again? The archers are firing.
The Armenian archers aim their arrows on the Roman infantry crossing the ford and start firing. The relentless barrage from these Armenian key troops begins to cause confusion within the Roman ranks. Although this onslaught makes only a small dent in Roman numbers, the team's strategic plan appears to be paying off. The Romans have no time to regroup into battle formation. The Roman general commits his troops. He takes the unusual step of sending his infantry up the hill to take out these seemingly isolated archers. Traditionally, Romans prefer to fight their battles on the flat, in strict formation. So can our team play this tactical error by the Roman general to their advantage?
So our forces haven't formed themselves yet.
If we don't put some infantry in front of the archers, the other group's infantry will just slaughter our archers straight away.
I know. That's what I said. I said put infantry in front.
I think it's a classic case of paralysis because they're inexperienced. They had a plan, they're determined to stick to it. They can see that things are going a little awry. The Romans are already across the river. They're worried that their plan is not going to work.
Let's have the infantry protect the archers and have the archers concentrate on the people who are crossing the water.
Right. So you want all the infantry to come...
And protect the archers. Protect the archers.
But it's too late. The huge Armenian infantry are still nowhere near the hill.
Can you just keep the archers firing at them?
But the Romans keep coming. The first unit of archers, without skills in arm-to-arm combat, have no protection against the superior skills of the Roman heavy legion. The Romans launch their first offensive on the hill with devastating effect. They wipe out the majority of the Armenian first unit of archers.
Despite the errors that they've made so far, all is not yet lost. They may still win this battle. And the reason they might win it is because they have a huge majority of troops over the Romans. And if they can keep them out of trouble for long enough and not allow them to be defeated in detail, they may eventually overcome the Romans.
Do we want to use the cataphracts yet?
The cataphracts are right at the back doing nothing.
Where do we want the cataphracts?
Let's keep them back for the moment. Let's use slingers on both of those.
Despite their archers being routed, there seems to be disagreement amongst the team about how they use their main key troops, the cataphracts. Will it be all over before they see any action at all?
I just thought that we had a superior number advantage over them, and it was just to try and reduce their numbers some more.
And then moving forward.
If you want to attack with them, attack with them. I don't care.
Don't take my word for it, seriously.
You could attack with some of them and see what impact they have.
Yeah, I don't think you should attack with all of them. Are we bringing half of them or
You
just...
can bring half of them over. It's your choice.
Yeah, half of them.
Ooh. Emma suggested that they fritter away their cataphracts and dribs and drabs. One of the great armored theorists of the 20th century, Heinz Guderian, used to say, not with a drizzle, but with a downpour. And that is the way that Guderian felt you needed to use your shock arm, your decisive arm. Guderian was talking about tanks. Those cataphracts have got to be used en masse in order to achieve the battlefield effect that they're designed for.
Now, what will the Armenian team do with their strongest troop, the cataphracts?
Bring half of the cataracts forward.
And bring them round and have them attack from behind the Romans.
Where do we want the cataphracts?
We want
to the right.
Keep half the group back, and half the group is going to go round and attack the Romans from behind.
While the generals focus on moving the cataphracts, they fail to notice another cohort of Roman heavy infantry crossing the river.
the generals have complete control of that big screen. And are they looking at the overall picture of the battlefield? No. Are they even moving it? No. All the generals are doing is staring at a tiny corner of the battlefield.
A second unit of Armenian archers position themselves lower down on the hill to continue to disrupt the Roman crossing.
Even though they've got the greater numbers, even though they need the fighting room, the team are going to restrict the Armenian army to a bit of high ground along the river. They will have no fighting room, they will have no ability to maneuver because they'll have the river close against them. The team is acting as though they are an outnumbered army.
The Armenian infantry arrive just in time to protect and support their archers. Meanwhile, the Roman barbarian cavalry, having positioned themselves safely out of range of the archers, prepare to launch an attack on the Armenian infantry. Even without any infantry support, the Romans remain confident that they can take out this disorganized rabble.
We're being attacked by cavalry.
Can you have the infantry protect the archers?
It's not the archers that need protecting. The Roman cavalry charge causes chaos in the ranks of the weak, ill-trained Armenian infantry.
How's that going, Lieutenants?
It's not going well. Loads of our men are running away and getting slaughtered while they run.
We're in complete disarray.
The Romans have succeeded in catching the Armenian army on the hop.
Engage them with the cataracts on the hill, please.
Billy, at last, is using half the cataphracts as he planned. It is a surprise full frontal charge. Fortunately for our team, the Roman cavalry are too busy wiping out the Armenian infantry to respond in time to this cataphract charge. Being completely outnumbered, the Roman cavalry abandon the battlefield and retreat to the ford. Despite heavy losses of infantry, the Armenians at the moment appear to have the upper hand. Their fortunate use of cataphracts has proved to be effective for the time being. However, the Romans retaliate by launching an offensive with a unit of heavy infantry against the cataphracts, hoping to take the advantage. These heavy cataphracts are incredibly vulnerable to infantry attack when pinned in a stationary position. This is when Romans are at their most deadly. The cataphracts take heavy losses. But how will our team respond?
Can we retreat?
Can we retreat?
Yeah.
The cataphracts.
You want the cataphracts to retreat?
It's just that there's a Roman army just about to engage them on their flank.
Well, it's a war.
Faced with a Roman charge, the cataphracts retreat. Is this the action of a panicky general, or have our team got greater plans for their strongest troops? Billy's obsession with the cataphracts appears to be clouding his vision. He seems to have forgotten that this Armenian army has a massive 10-to-1 advantage over the Romans, and he has yet to use the majority of his troops.
We've got 4 units of infantry doing nothing at the moment.
20,000 spearmen and 50,000 peasants have still to be engaged in this battle.
Because the team has not effectively committed their troops to battle, a lot of the team's army is standing around doing nothing, so they're still alive.
Unless the team now use their superior numbers over the Romans, they are in danger of losing their advantage in this battle.
Can we turn the cataracts around and attack again, please?
All the cataphracts regroup, poised to launch another offensive on the Roman army.
Charge again, please. Cataracts to charge again.
All of them?
Yes.
Yeah.
this second cataphract charge, the team stick to their original plan to bring half of the cataphracts behind the Romans and engulf them. This huge double fist explodes on Lucullus's men. The plan seems to work. The charging cataphracts surround two cohorts of Roman foot soldiers on the hill. The sheer volume of Armenian cataphracts overwhelms the enemy, inflicting heavy losses on the Roman infantry.
Can we bring the other cataracts up from behind?
That's what we're doing. We'll completely surround them.
The team has really seized the initiative. They didn't hang back. They were ambitious. You know what the team's done? The team has acted like Romans.
The Romans send a further cohort onto the hill to engage with the Armenian cataphracts. In close combat, the superior fighting skills of the Roman light infantry are starting to overcome the Armenian cataphracts.
57 of our cataphracts are running away.
Running away?
Yeah.
They're running?
Yeah, 57 I think.
Surely now is the time that the team need to mobilize the rest of their army.
Emma, these groups which are moving, are they all ours?
Yes, they're all infantry.
Can you engage the Romans?
At last, Billy has seen the huge swathe of Armenian troops at his disposal. And finally, he sends his infantry to face the Roman cohorts.
We're using our spearmen to fight a group of their infantry and we're winning.
Unable to withstand this overwhelming Armenian onslaught, Roman discipline crumbles and their infantry begin to run for their lives.
This is about the only possible time that the Armenian peasants, those extra 50,000 untrained levies, would actually be of some use in a battle. They've got the Romans on the run and they can use their superior numbers to pick them off at will.
Just overwhelm them.
Meanwhile, with chaos ensuing on the main battlefield, further up on the hill, the Roman general Lucullus is surrounded by Armenian spearmen and slingers. Despite a valiant attempt by the general, he is overwhelmed and killed.
We killed their general.
Are we?
The Romans attempt a final offensive. Two remaining Roman cohorts charge at the Armenian infantry. Despite their superior fighting skills, the outnumbered Romans struggle to hold back the tide of Armenian peasants. In a battle of numbers against discipline, the Armenian unruly peasants are winning out. At last, the team are using these peasants for what they're good at, battle fodder, and it's working. With their general dead and their numbers depleted, morale in the Roman camp finally falters. This huge mob of an Armenian army has managed to halt the march of Rome in the east.
Victory imminent.
Spot that?
Victory imminent. Victory imminent.
Somebody get me a party hat.
You are victorious. You are victorious.
You won.
Wow, didn't think that would happen.
You are victorious.
Well done, come back up. Talk me through that. How did you pull that off? By accident or by design?
I think because we had them, we knew where they were coming from, and because there was more of us as well.
Yeah, there was more of us.
But you were supposedly much less experienced.
But the Romans weren't familiar with in how to deal tactically with the archers, and we did kill some of their people earlier on.
We killed quite a lot early on, didn't we?
And at the very end, we killed their general as well by surrounding them with our cataphracts. And
Well, that was your idea, Leanne, wasn't it? Getting the cataphracts in halfway.
It was good.
You wouldn't have been smiling if it didn't work. You'd have been frowning.
All right. You think it did well?
I don't know how well we did, but we won.
Which is important. Let's find out what our experts thought of how you did. Sol and Alec have been watching you,
Shortly.
talking about you all the time. And now they're going to talk to you about how it went. Gentlemen, what do you think?
I think it's fair to say that we were taken aback by how well you were able to pull that one out of the fire. It was deeply touch and go there for a little bit.
We were a little bit worried at the beginning. We looked at your plan. We could see that you'd identified the ford and that the ford was important. But we were worried that you were going to try to move troops up to the ford in time to catch the Romans as they were crossing. The problem was they were closer to the ford and they were almost always going to get there before you. So the key was you had to husband your troops. And ultimately, you did that rather well. We were suspicious at one stage that you'd lost a certain amount of command and control. I think Billy said at one point, I don't care what you do with the cataphracts. Use them or don't use them. And given that he was the general, I was a little bit worried at that stage.
What did it for you guys, and the reason that you were able to hold it all together, was first of all the initiative. Your plan from the beginning was ambitious, in fact, perhaps even mad, but at the core of your plan was the desire to seize the initiative. And you wanted to go out there, you wanted to engage the Romans, you wanted to oppose the crossing, you wanted to make the Romans fight your kind of battle. And that's great, because your plan was, to some extent, fundamentally unrealistic. And it all went completely to rat once you tried to do it. But it didn't matter because you had the initiative. The Romans had to fight your battle. Instead of cruising across the river and fighting their battle, they ended up being completely disrupted in their river crossing, and that gave you the opportunity to use your superior numbers against them.
I think one of the keys to the battle was your use of the archers, actually, and this was what was clever about your plan. If there were elements of it that were slightly leaky, this was watertight. Because what you'd identified is they were key troops. The Romans didn't have many archers. And also, obviously, you need to use them from a distance. You can't engage, and if you allow the Romans to engage your archers, they're going to be cut to pieces. So you use them to antagonize the Romans, probably not causing that many casualties. But as a result, they launched a cavalry charge, which was unsupported. I don't know if you noticed that halfway through the battle. And that's quite unusual. Tactically, the Romans made an error at that point, but the brilliant thing from your point of view is you took full advantage. You launched your cataphracts, your other key troops, at a crucial moment. You may not have known it yourselves, but it was, and that set up the victory.
And the other big reason that you guys managed to win this one is that you kept those cataphracts concentrated. Emma at one point said, well, why don't you attack with some of the cataphracts? I was filled with horror. Oh my goodness, do not divide up that beautiful mailed fist. And sure enough, you guys managed to keep that fist together. You kept that fist clenched, and you kept using it again and again. Any time the Romans looked like they were starting to get it together, you'd hit them with the cataphracts. Very impressive.
That was pretty much how you thought about it too, wasn't it?
As you could tell.
Your plan was much better when you had it explained to you, is that what you're saying?
What we wanted to do was we wanted to create an air of suspense and letting you think we really had no idea what we were doing.
Well, it worked.
But all along, we had this plan that we knew would.
You succeeded in lulling us into a very real sense of insecurity. Would you like to see how the battle was really fought in history?
Yes.
Okay. On you go. Alec and Sol will show you how it happened.
King Tigran came to this battle with a lot of people. King Tigran had his allies with him. He had lots of people. They weren't much good, but he had lots of them. And he had them all concentrated on the high ground that you see here, this plateau. Nice, flat, good. And he had his cataphracts concentrated, and he put them, we think, right in front of a bit of his infantry. 100,000 people, all mashed together.
The Romans, on the other hand, as we know, were a much smaller force. They have to take the initiative. They can't allow the Armenians to come onto them. So what they do in classic Roman style is they strike fast and they strike hard. Now, the interesting thing about the beginning of this battle is that the position in which the ford lay from where the Romans start was actually to the west, and it looked like the Romans were running away. Tigranes was convinced that the battle wasn't actually going to take place, and as a result of this, we suspect the Armenian army wasn't properly formed at the point at which the Romans eventually struck. They actually moved their troops to the ford and very quickly moved them across the ford, cavalry out in front, probably skirmishers as well. At this particular point, Lucullus makes a brilliant, absolutely brilliant maneuver. He can see that the cataphracts, the key to the force, are actually out in front, and he knows that if he can defeat that crucial force first, he's probably going to win the victory. But he also makes a very clever use of ground. He takes two cohorts and he marches them. At the same time as he moves the cavalry forward to pin the cataphracts, he marches them up some high ground to the flank which has been left unguarded, and this is the crucial move.
And the Armenian king, throughout all this, does not know where the Romans are. He's up on this plateau. He can't see past his huge 100,000-man army, and he keeps saying, where are the Romans? Where are the Romans? Are they coming? Are they coming? Are they coming? And in the past, the Armenians knew that any time somebody told the king that the Romans were coming, he'd kill them. So he's saying, are they coming? Are they coming? And nobody's saying anything. I'm not going to tell the king. You tell the king.
They are coming. They've reached the top of the hill, Lucullus at their head. He has pinned the cataphracts with his cavalry, and he makes the classic maneuver which is so dangerous to cataphracts, a flank attack and smash. And as he smashes into the cataphracts panic and they drive back into the semi-formed Armenian army, and
it all falls apart.
After the real battle of Tigranocerta, having suffered a humiliating defeat, King Tigran escaped with his father-in-law Mithridates. The following year, Lucullus advanced his Roman army again on the Armenian king, and this time crushed Tigran's powerful empire. Lucullus's resounding triumph in his campaigns in the east ensured that he returned home a wealthy man. Once again, he had extended the power of Imperial Rome.
It's pick of the day time now, and here's your choices. On BBC One, it's the next up-to-the-minute version of Chaucer's Canterbury Tales. And here on BBC Two, clothes pegs at the ready for your nose.